Chiefs Kingdom, it's been a minute, but we are back and we got a lot of catching up to do. It is playoff football time, but we are going to rewind a little bit because the Kansas City Chiefs look like they are playing some of their best ball of the year. So we got to look back in a Raider week and we got to dive into everything that's happened this wild card weekend. But before we do all of that, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video, as I'm going to keep you up to date on anything Kansas City Chief related that you do not want to miss out on. Without further ado, let's have some fun. As you all know, it is wild card weekend and it has been nothing short of amazing, as every game has come down to the wire except the Niners and the Seahawks. But the Kansas City Chiefs do have their divisional opponent in the Jacksonville Jaguars, as they had a thrilling comeback against the LA Chargers. With that though, we're going to rewind a little bit because I didn't get the chance to do it, and we're going to dive into Raider week because the Kansas City Chiefs were playing some of their best football and firing on all cylinders, and it is the perfect time to do that. So what better chance to do it than now? So what I'm going to discuss is like a normal kind of recap video. Is we're going to discuss the offense, the defense, and the special teams going into the playoffs, and we're going to have fun while we do it. And let's dive right into the offense. And we can start at the quarterback position, but do we really need to do it? Because Patrick Mahomes basically secured his MVP week 18 if it wasn't already secured earlier in the season, and he looked good and he was firing early and often. And what better surprise than to see Justin Watson come around and be that first deep threat that we haven't seen. We haven't seen really long bombs connect this year. We've been trying to see it connect with MVS, and that's basically been our deep threat, but that connection hasn't been there. Justin Watson, we haven't seen that since week 2, and it was a sight to see. It was basically the main explosion play, but the offense was clicking on all cylinders. The stats might not be surprising in the passing game, but what I think is more interesting going into playoff weekend is Travis Kelce. Now, yes, his numbers may not be great or spectacular the last few weeks, but I think one thing a lot of people need to focus on is what Kansas City is doing to excel outside of that. Now, in prior years when Travis Kelce has been bottled up, or even when Tyreek Hill has been bottled up, it's who's the next man to step up and help in the playoff run. And when both of them are bottled up, nothing has happened. Well, now we're seeing the lights of Juju, which we expect, but MVS is making himself a name against the Raiders. Kadarius Toney, you see the kind of play calling that Coach Reed gets him involved in, which is a sight to see, whether it be a ring around the rosy play, reverses, getting him involved in everything that needs to be done. He is basically getting the Tyreek Hill package thrown at him, and he's looking very good too. And I'm excited to see in the playoffs how much more he can take, and if he basically goes crazy in the playoffs, I'm excited to see the workload going forward too. And then not to mention, MVS, yes, he's an inconsistent player, but he can make plays for this offense. And then we still haven't seen the lights of a McCall Hardman who should come back against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I will always cross my fingers that Sky Moore will make a play and he will get more involved too. But you're having these second, third, fourth, and even fifth guys step up for this offense, which hasn't been the case in playoff runs like this. And when you basically bottled up a Kelce and you bottled up a Hill, you're basically stuck on offense. Well, this is why the Kansas City Chiefs offense is better than ever, because you don't need to just rely on one guy like Travis Kelce. You can rely on multiple guys. And if that's the case, it keeps the defense on their toes, which is a sight to see and which makes this offense better than ever. And also focusing on this offense a little more too, which could make it better than ever, is if coaching sticks with the run. They got one of the best run games in the league. You can say I'm crazy or what may be it, but once the Kansas City Chiefs commit to the run, which it may never happen, but if they do, they are a scary team. And something that kind of confused me in the game, and maybe it was just maybe to rest a little bit or get more workload in, was they involved Ronald Jones a lot more, which, again, surprising. He did good with the carries that was given to him, but of course, I'm an Isaiah Pacheco and a Jerick McKinnon type of guy. And those are the type of plays I want to see. You involve Jerick McKinnon in the pass game. Again, another weapon for Mahomes too. And then you involve Isaiah Pacheco in the run game, which he sealed the game against the Raiders. I mean, it was already sealed, but basically to run the clock out in the fourth quarter, he broke huge runs and then he sealed it off with a touchdown too. Stick to the run game. It's going to be huge in this playoff stretch too. It's the reason why the Kansas City Chiefs struggled against the Cincinnati Bengals last year was because they abandoned the run game in the second half and they couldn't eke out any clock and they basically forced it all on Mahomes' shoulder. You guys heard me say this time in and time out. Take pressure off of the MVP and let him make plays. And one big way to do that is run the football. And that's a huge thing you need to do in December, January, and if you want to make it into February and play that Super Bowl. And I think Isaiah Pacheco can be that guy. I think Jerick McKinnon is that guy. And if you want to involve Ronald Jones too, you're getting his legs wet, he's running, he's looking good. I don't know if that's a recipe they're trying to basically formulate going into the postseason, or if that was just, hey, let's not put too much workload on Isaiah Pacheco because we're going to give him a lot during the postseason. I hope so. Again, I hope, but I don't know how that's going to look going forward, or they're really going to do with a three-headed back too. And it's going to be interesting to see too, because in this coming week, I don't think he will be a factor, but again, I don't know either, is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He should be coming off an injured reserve. What do the Kansas City Chiefs do in that position now? Because it's going to be interesting to see. You got Isaiah Pacheco, who is clearly your lead back, and then you got Jerick McKinnon. He is clearly a receiving back and also another lead back, which is your 1A and 1B. And now Ronald Jones is kind of giving himself a case to be like, hey, I deserve some snaps in this offense, whether it be 2 to 6 snaps. He's saying, I can help out and benefit this offense as well. I don't know if Clyde Edwards-Helaire has a role on this team. I do not know if Clyde Edwards-Helaire has a role in the future either. That's something I'm not going to focus on until the offseason comes or until I actually see him get worthy snaps going into the playoffs. But right now, I don't think there is a role. And that's kind of unfortunate because coming into the season, he was your lead back. He was someone I heavily depended on. Now, he was someone who I thought would have a breakout year. But injuries derailed it again, and Isaiah Pacheco took a grown man's job. Now, we're still going to focus on the offense because one thing that can be concerning and has been inconsistent, they have got better a lot throughout the season, but they did allow a few sacks, and it's that offensive line. Now, I think they allowed 2 or 3 sacks against the Raiders game. They need to hold up. If you give Mahomes time, he will dissect any defense, especially that Jacksonville defense, which he went crazy on week 10. So that's something we're going to dive into more a little later in the week, but this O-line needs to hold up. We've seen bad O-line play in the playoffs before and how it basically ruined a Super Bowl for us. Different guys, but these guys like Orlando Brown Jr., Andrew Wiley, your number is going to be called heavy on in this playoff stretch. Orlando Brown, this is the time. You want that big contract? Don't let anyone on your side touch Patrick Mahomes and go nuts, go crazy. This is the time to shine. And Andrew Wiley, the same with you too. You're kind of like, you could be an unsung hero in all of this. Not a lot of people mention your name unless you do bad. So do good, be under the radar, and don't let no one touch Mahomes from that right side. You guys already know. I didn't mention Joe Tooney, Creed Humphrey, or Trey Smith. All 3 of them are playing on all pro levels. I expect them to take their game to the next step in this playoff run too. And I expect this offense to look crazy in this playoff stretch. It's kind of like what we saw last year. And even bits of it in the Bengals game as well. It's like the Steelers, they went crazy. The Bills, they went crazy. And in the first half in the Bengals as well, they went nuts too. So I expect Mahomes, he always knows when it's playoff football, he takes it to that next level. I don't think this will be anything different as well, and it's something that's going to be exciting to see starting this not January, it is, but this Saturday against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, as we switch sides of the ball and go to the defensive side, as I mentioned all throughout the year, the defense has been very inconsistent, and on the better half of sides, they've been kind of bad throughout the season, more than less. Well, now they're hitting a stride. And we always mention, at least I do, in the Steve Spagnuolo era, this defense always goes on strides, whether it be good or bad. Well, the last 2 weeks, they have looked really good. And what better time to do it than now going into the playoffs is to hit a good defensive stride. And we're going to start on this D-line. And one thing that's catching my eye is, honestly, throughout the whole league catching everyone's eye, is the tandem between Chris Jones and George Karlaftis. They are looking like they are on the same page and they are wrecking havoc. If they can do that in this playoff run, whew, they are going to be a force to be reckoned with and hard to stop. Chris Jones has heard it throughout the whole offseason, probably throughout his whole career, that he has not had a sack in the playoffs. Best believe that's probably going to change against Jacksonville, and if not, he's going to cause pressures to where George Karlaftis is going to get his first sack as well. These boys have been on a tear, and even against the Raiders, they have had 6 sacks. Right now, well, not right now because the season is over, but they ended the season second in the league in sacks with, I want to say, over 50 sacks. That is crazy to think when you rewind back to last year with a team that struggled to get barely 30 sacks. Joe Coleman is an unsung hero, our new defensive line coach, former Jacksonville Jaguars defensive line coach. So you best believe he's going to dissect a way to get Trevor Lawrence on the ground early and often, make him uncomfortable to where he's going to turn the ball over, because as we saw in the Chargers game, even though Trevor Lawrence looked amazing in the second half and found a way to will this Jacksonville Jaguars team to a divisional round, he can be got. And if the Kansas City Chiefs can stay persistent on him for fourth quarters, Joe Coleman can make his life hell. And expect also rotational guys too, like Frank Clark, Mike Dana, Carlos Dunlap. They've been having stellar seasons as well. They can get to the quarterback and they can wreak havoc too. This D-line has been something to see and very impressive. It's funny when people mention the Kansas City Chiefs need a pass rusher. I do agree with you, but don't take anything away from what this group has done, because it has been nothing short of amazing, and they have looked stellar throughout the season to become second in the league in sacks and over 50 sacks. That's something none of us would have predicted. And now that you got a rookie hitting his stride, you got Chris Jones with over 15 sacks on the year, my defensive player of the year candidate. This line is showing out, and they are making this whole defense look better. Now let's speak on this defense on a whole with the linebackers and the secondary. These linebackers are going crazy now. Nick Bolton is looking like not a new man, but a man who has taken his game to a next level. He is, of course, causing havoc in the run game, but also, too, not something I like to see him a lot of, but in coverage, he's been getting better. Someone who is really good in coverage as well is Willie Gay, whether it be a spy on the quarterback or just running down or running back and making sure they don't make a play. If these guys can be on top of their game in this playoff run, especially against like running back like Travis Etienne, who is very elusive, very explosive, you can't let him go crazy whatsoever. If they can stop that too, it's going to be a hard day for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and they're going to be a key if the Kansas City Chiefs are going to make a Super Bowl run. But the main key, for the Kansas City Chiefs to make a Super Bowl run is this secondary, and they have been in sync. And I want to give praise to 2 dudes that I've been on heavily because they were struggling throughout the season, but Juan Thornhill and Justin Reed, they are clicking like no other. Justin Reed has been amazing in coverage late in the season, and Juan Thornhill, those picks have finally been tallying up, and he has been breaking on the football like crazy. This is the type of play we've been looking for our safety position. If they can do that throughout the playoffs, I'm not worried about teams like Buffalo or Cincinnati because, yeah, our safeties and cornerbacks struggled against them. But if they take their game to the next level, they won't get the type of plays that they were getting earlier in the season or that the Bengals were getting this year and last year too. They can be stopped. The Kansas City Chiefs defense just needs to play in hole too. And with that hole, you also got to mention guys like L'Jarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie and Joshua Williams and even Jalen Watson. Trent McDuffie and L'Jarius Sneed, they have been taking their game up a notch. Trent McDuffie should have had his first pick last week. Unfortunately, he dropped it, but it is what it is. Maybe he can tally that in the playoffs, but he's been playing lockdown and shutdown. Now, I don't know if it was a coverage snap or if it was on McDuffie fully. He did give up a touchdown to Hunter Renfrow, but man, the route running Renfrow be doing on cornerbacks, sometimes it is what it is. You're going to give some, you're going to get some, and it happened. He got there. Doesn't take away from what Trent McDuffie has done this year. When the lights are on, I expect these boys to turn it up a notch. And if this secondary, basically a guy a lot of people don't know around the league, even L'Jarius Sneed, he doesn't get the praise where it's deserved. Even Nick Bolton, he doesn't get the praise either. This is the time to do it in playoffs. Make yourself a name. People will be like, oh, wow, these are playmakers. This is the time to do it. And I hope And I expect and I pray that Spags will have these boys ready, because I think at the end of the day, besides coaching and play calling for the offense, if the defense isn't clicking, it's going to struggle for Kansas City to be a part of this Super Bowl run. But something tells me Spags has something dialed up to where they will be on a Super Bowl run, and they're going to be hard to stop. People are not going to be surprised on what this offense does. I think they're not going to expect what this defense is about to do. And like I said, when the lights are on, you shine. Now the final phase we're going to discuss, and it has been a pain in our backside throughout the whole season, but they ended the season off on a strong note, and it is special teams. We can just pray that they build off a Raider week, and we could pray maybe Harrison Butker is back on a stride. Maybe Tommy Townsend knows how to hold balls. Pause. I don't know. He's a great punter. He was an All-Pro this year as well. Maybe Dave Towe finally wrote a wrong. Maybe we're fielding punts correctly, returning kickoffs correctly. I don't know. The last thing I would hate to see is we lose a playoff game because of special teams. So Dave Towe needs to have these boys prepared and ready to go, full head of steam, because it will be a very, very upsetting video if we lose the game because of special teams. It's like, I do not want to do that. I don't even want to talk if we win and special teams has miscues. It's very late in the season. This is a playoff push. This is something that shouldn't be happening. So hopefully those mistakes are completely gone. So Harrison Butker, like I said, he looked good against the Raiders. Tommy Townsend looked good against the Raiders. Special teams in a whole look good against the Raiders. Build off of it, get this playoff stretch going, and look good throughout it so we can be Super Bowl champions and hold up the Lombardi. With that, I'm going to close it with the special teams, but also, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars on Saturday. I know a lot of people are going to make wire that, oh, Trevor Lawrence has never lost a game on Saturday. He almost did last week, and also, he's never had an opponent like the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes on Saturday. So for Chiefs Kingdom, who is concerned that it's a Saturday game, don't be so. And then you got the Bills taking on the Bengals too. That's a game that we unfortunately got taken away from us with the Damar Hamlin injury, which thankful and also hopeful that he's doing better too. It looks like all signs are in the right direction, but it's going to be an exciting game there too. I don't know who to root for there. Actually, I kind of do. I kind of want that rematch against the Bengals. I kind of want to get that monkey off our back. But do not overlook the Jacksonville Jaguars, because they are a good team. Doug Peterson always has this team ready, and we will discuss more throughout the week, so you know what to do. Please be sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video so you don't miss out on any takeaways of the Jacksonville Jaguars coming into Arrowhead and having probably an exciting playoff game. With that, Chiefs Kingdom, I am checking out. Y'all take care. Peace.